Recently, working with a group of leaders, one leader stopped me and asked me, how can I make sure that I only work on high level activities and nothing else? And this got me thinking, is what prevents us on working on activities that don't serve us, or working on low level activities that don't actually move the business or move the project or move the task forward? And it's all linked to values. It's all linked to your personal values and how you align your actions to your values. So I'm going to talk about in this video is how can you ensure that you just focus on high value activities. So my name is Baiju Solanki. I'm a performance psychologist and I help leaders, entrepreneurs and business owners ensure that they perform at their best. So I get it, as an entrepreneur and as a leader, we have got lots to do. We're really busy. Now look, I've got a thing around the world busy, but that's for another video. And when we're busy, sometimes we lose the focus on where we need to focus on in order to make sure that our activities are aligned with what we want to achieve. And the day runs away from us and we get consumed by the things in our business. So what is the real problem? The real problem is the busyness trap. And the busyness trap is we do things because they need to be done. We don't have any focus around what good looks like at the end of the day, and we don't have any structure to our day to ensure that we focus on the things that matter. And then by the time the day comes, we're busy, we're doing our stuff, we're getting lots done. However, we just feel unfulfilled because we haven't got those important things done. We're not aligned with the thing that we want to achieve and our activities. And there's a very simple equation I use when I work with leaders, and that's understand your values. And I've got a tool that I use called the leadership feature, the self-leadership feature, that allows you to focus on the activities that mean the most to you. So a lot of you know that I have the Change Your Game framework. And the Change Your Game framework focuses on 3 core games. Number 1 is the inner game. And the inner game is your identity, your beliefs, your emotions. The second game is the game plan. And the game plan is all about the strategy, the execution, the roadmap that you create that allows you to get to where you need to get to. And the third game is the outer game, which is all about the actions you take. But more importantly, the consistency and persistency of actions. And it's easy to be consistent and persistent when your actions are aligned with your values and your values are aligned with your strategy. So the free game network allows us to understand is where our focus goes. So in order for you to focus on high level activities, I'm going to start off by getting you clarity around your inner game and where your inner game needs to be. So what's your identity? What's your beliefs and what's your emotions around the activity you are conducting? So if you're running a meeting, what kind of identity do you have around that meeting? If you're focused on a task, who do you want to be when you're completing that task? When you're working on a project that requires you to deliver something to somebody else, what's your emotional state around that in order for you to commit to your commitments? And once you've got your identity clear around your inner game, it's easier to execute on the game plan. And the game plan is the key around high level activities. And I'm going to show you what the self-leadership pizza is all about. So once you have clarity around your inner game and you're coming from a place of abundance and not coming from a place of fear, it's understanding how to game plan. Now think about this. How many times during the day when you're conducting tasks, you're doing your thing, you don't feel aligned? When you don't feel aligned, that's a clear indication you're aligned with your values. So once you have clarity around your values, every single action you take should be coming from a value. So for example, let's take a non-work thing, but like getting fit or going to the gym. If your value is discipline, the action you take is ensuring you get to the gym at the time you want to get to. You eat the right foods because your value of discipline is higher than the value of missing out, the value of sort of being indisciplined around your food or your diet. And then you say, right, I'm going to keep to my values and my actions are going to align with my values. So your values then, your actions have become easier because you're aligned with what you want, what's important to you. The problem lies is when we become lazy, when we become less focused, when we don't have the right environment around us, when we don't have the structure in place, and we don't know or we don't have the end in mind. Because when we don't have the end in mind, we just look to get the next task done without thinking what the bigger picture is. So how does the self-leadership pizza work? So as you see here on this video, the self-leadership pizza is split like a pizza, it's a circle, into 8 segments. The inner circle is your values. Now, the example I give you here is the values that I've picked. So I've picked here integrity, growth, empathy, excellence, resilience, collaboration, innovation, and discipline. So these are the 8 values, but you can pick your own values. Now you see the outer circle is all about the actions that are aligned with those values. So what are the actions that align with your values? So to give you an example, growth. If growth is one of your values, the action aligned to that would be to learn a new skill, because that's aligned with your values of growth. Another one is empathy. So if empathy is a value, an action is active listening when you're with your team. So are you actively listening? Because that's an indication you're aligned with your values. Discipline, as I mentioned earlier, if discipline is one of your values, establishing a morning routine or structure around your world. So when you have these values are very crystal clear in terms of your world, it's easier to focus on the actions. And what you do then is it completely aligns with you focus on high value activities. So for example, me, discipline, structure and focus is key during the day. And so in the morning, my morning routine is set. I wake up 6 o'clock, maybe 5:30, 6, and between 6 and 8, it's all gym work. I go to the gym, whether it's cardio or weights or whatever it is. When I come back between 8 and 10, it's just my time in terms of getting my breakfast ready, getting ready for the day, whatever it may be. And I don't have any meetings before 10 o'clock. So my value of self-care and discipline shows up in those 4 hours by being strict on those activities. So let's take work for example. During work is one of my 2 mantras is managing expectations and being in communication. So I look at what I've got to do during the day and what do I need to deliver on so other people can do their work. What's expectations that I've got to meet for other people that I need to do, and where do I need to be in communication. So those 2 values are paramount. So during the day, my whole mindset is about everybody that I've promised to get back to that's a priority. And every project I've committed to during that day that requires me to deliver on someone else, that's a priority. Nothing else matters. So when I have those 2 things, it makes my day much more structured. So my game plan is any action I take is completely aligned with my values. And as you see from the leadership picture, these values now become your anchor. It becomes your basis. It becomes your focus for the day. And then you look at the actions around it. So say one of your values is integrity. For me, I do not cancel meetings. If I've got a meeting in the diary, it's going to happen. Something really extraordinary, something completely out of my control, which happens rarely, has to happen. And sometimes we're too flippant, we're too easy on cancelling things because we've over capacity or meetings overrun or just things happen. Now I appreciate that some of you probably got different moving parts. So I don't have young children now, my children are older. So if you've got young children, that moving part is going to have a bigger impact on your world than me. So therefore you've got to compensate for that. You've got to allow for that. You've got to structure your day in such a way that that doesn't have an impact. So the more moving parts in your day, children, other commitments with partners in your team, means that your time has got to be more structured. And when you get your time more structured, you get to focus on high value activities much more. So the game plan is all about how you focus on every action is linked to a value, and a value is your anchor to making things work. So your inner game is about getting your belief and identity right. Your game plan is to make sure that every action is aligned with the value. Now the outer game. How do you make sure you're consistent and persistent in the actions you take every single day? There's 2 things. Number 1, your environment. Where do you do your work? And number 2 is eliminating distractions. And there's 2 types of distractions. The distractions, as we all have on our phone, the notifications, the beeps, the WhatsApps, all the rest of it. And it's understanding what do you need to create in terms of eliminating distractions to stay focused on your values. Now, whether you work from home, whether you work in the office, or whether it's hybrid, or whether you work in a coffee shop or a working space, is you have control over the environment and you have control over boundaries. So whatever you said to your team members, whatever you said to other people around when you're available. So your outer game is all about maximizing the environment that works for you. So for me, working from home, my WhatsApp's on, my email's on, but one of my mantras is that if I know I've come across a task and I can get it done within a minute, I get it done there and then. Now for other people, that doesn't work. They've got 20 minutes focus on a specific task and any distractions around that won't work. But for me, I can work that. I've worked a system. So it's not about you following my system or you following a said system. It's asking yourself, based on your own mindset, your own methodology, what works for you, is do you need to block out time? Do you need to create a different environment in your working space? Do you need to have certain conversations with your team members and with yourself to set boundaries about managing their expectations and when you're available? And when you get that environment right, when you get those things right, you start to focus on high value activities. And the thing is this, when you're disciplined around that, and when you do that, it's really, really hard. It becomes an addictive thing because you don't want to do low level activities. You don't want to be, dragged down into activities that really other people need to be doing or you need to be delegating away. It's when your world is focused on these are my values, my action, every single one of my actions is aligned with my value, all of a sudden you start getting things done. So how do you bring this all together? Number one, the daily practice of making sure that when you wake up in the day, your mindset is attuned to your values. What's the values that are important to you and that you will not negotiate on? Number two is then using the leadership piece to say, what are the actions that I'm committed to are linked to those values? And number three is what do I need to change in my environment and setting my boundaries to ensure that 80% of my week is focused on high value activities. And that's what you're looking for. You're not looking for perfectionism. You're looking for 80% of the time that you're in control of your world. 80% of the time you're focused on high value activities, and 80% of the time that you can get done what you want to get done. Alignment creates momentum. Momentum creates progress, and progress gets you over the finishing line. And that's how you win the day, and that's how you focus on high value activities. Hope this helped.